much for inviting me along again. It's always good to see you, Cara. Joseph, it's always good to see you. Always get a very warm welcome here. Joe, I want to talk about yourself, and then later on, Joseph will bring me up to the lofts and we'll have a look at the birds.
Right.
How long are you raising pigeons?
From was about 8 years of age. What would that be about? 46, 48 years.
Oh, Joe, I want this to be honest and truthful. It's longer than that there, I would say.
No, it's about 46 years.
Well, obviously you maybe started racing with your father, did you?
Oh, we did, yes, right, in the early days.
And suppose your other brothers and all, it was a real family affair, was it, in them days?
Yeah. You know, and not only that, everybody seemed to have pigeons in them days. Where nowadays, you know, it's a day and night sport, I think.
And I suppose in those days, Joe, there was none of these fancy names
from
Belgium and things like that.
You heard of pigeons called barkers and, you know, different wee strains like that there. The old strains, Catrice, I've heard of them loads of times, you know, but that was no.
And even then people were still winning races with them, flying France and places like that.
The water, sure, yeah.
I suppose you see a lot of difference between then and now, so you do.
Well, I think now, you know, years ago you got a pigeon out of France, it was talked about for months, years,
yes.
You know. But now, you know, they seem to be getting them out of France pretty easy.
Easier,
like, you know, not it's any easier for the pigeon, but they seem to be coming, whether it's weather updates or what, you know, it's changed the whole cycle. But there seem to be more coming out of France now than what there was in the early days, you know, when we were racing pigeons.
So you started off with your father and your brothers, and then suppose you get married and you got your own place, and did you start up then by yourself, or?
When my father went out of the pigeons, I went into a partnership with Peter Garn. Our partnership with Garn and Ward, and with a pigeon there called Red Rum that topped out and won the Ulster Federation, and he won about 7 years or so his own, like, you know, and he was originally coming from the old strain of pigeons that we had between us, you know what I mean. I don't know what they were even more, but they were winning, and that was good enough for us, you know.
Yes.
But we won the Fed in 1875, I think it was out of Wexford. So it just shows you, you know, how long it was back that we were winning Feds and open races, like. And then when I got married in 1980, I decided to start up my own lot again, you know, and that's when I put a lot of work into them and things just.
And then I suppose a few years after that, then you became Joe Warden's son.
Yeah, things blossomed then from then.
So, what club were you in then, Joe?
We were in the DIVIS HPS then,
right?
Which was a pretty big club, you know, in them days.
Yes.
You're talking about 40 members, 40 odd members.
Right.
And they take a first four on a weekly basis. It was so much even, like. And the only reason we took a first four was they only paid 4 positions.
So there was no point clacking anyone.
There was no point, no.
And then, suppose after that, then you moved to the Governor, which would be one of, if not the biggest clubs.
Yeah.
In Nippa.
Well, the Governor, I had applied to the Governor several times, and they kept having me back. And then, when my mother died in 1996, I actually went out of pigeons.
Yes.
And when I went out of pigeons, then I still applied to join the Governor, and I got into the Governor, and I had no sheds and no boards, so I was left in a pickle, you know. So I had to actually go and get new loft and new boards, you know, if I go away on it again.
So say from 97 sort of thing, you went back into them, and
yeah.
What I mean, suppose in 97 then you had the like.
Well, it might have been 99, I think I went back into them.
Well, even
for a wee while, you know.
Even 99, you're talking around 2000. At that sort of time, you're talking that you're starting to get all the Belgian birds and people going to Holland and going to the breeding studs over there and what have you.
Yeah.
So, what sort of families of birds did you start getting then?
Well, I never actually got anything from Bells or Holland because I didn't believe, at the time, didn't believe I had to do it anyway, you know, because
Yes.
I had a team of Bushard pigeons there that were next to none, you know, and if I went to guys that got them walking there originally, when I went out of them, I built sort of a team back up again.
Yes.
Away they went. Like for instance, when I bought the loft and built it, I don't know many young ones, I think I had 36 young ones out here. And I ended up only racing young ones, second highest prize winner in the ground. Plus I think we won the 5-word derby, and there was a couple of other races that we done well, and you know, open races.
And all of those birds, did they all go back to your original line?
Not all of them, to be honest with you, not all of them, but there was some I brought in from Maserati to have a go at,
Yes.
just to see, you know, what type of Bushard he really had in, you know. And there was an exceptional one we got out of, maybe the dozen,
Right.
you know, that we sent for. And it was a blue cock, and he actually ended up winning 3 TCs for us, clocks, and you know, all the prizes, whatever. And but I decided he was getting easy a wee bit, you know, a 4 or 5 year old, and I said, alright, I'll have a wee go at France with you to see if you can do it, you know. And I only sent the one, and on the day I tamed him, and he finished up second open.
Right, good.
So he was well worth putting my own pigeons in.
How long is your association with the Bushards? How long have you had that, Joseph? Or Joe?
From the early 80s.
So 30 odd years you're flying.
Easy, yeah.
Now, last night, before I came here today, I happened to be looking on Facebook. Peter Martin, a very respected flyer. Joseph actually had a photograph of the old Bushards,
Yeah.
and Peter Martin actually commented on the thread, and he wrote, even during my own personal health things, I always kept my old line of Bushards, and I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
Just like your father, Joe. So I mean, were you able to pick up your old line of Bushards again?
Oh, once, yeah, surely. And still you can go to today and get into the van or in the car and go to Tony Carnes. And Tony still has some of the originals, but they're off the originals, if you know what I mean.
Yes,
They're still the originals.
Still with that gene pool,
Yeah,
your sort of gene pool coming down.
Tony doesn't really retire anything to stock that has 6 or 7 lines.
Right.
You know, and his cocks are, they'll be 8, 9 year old, and have 6 and 7 first prize winners, you know, for him, and bred loads of winners for him. So, as well as the hens, you know, as well, you know. But Tony's like myself. When I originally raced the Bushards on the Widowhood, I never raced hens. The hens just went to,
You only raised the cocks, Joe.
they were Widowhood hens, yeah, you know. And you had a great load of hens there that was winners, derby winners, fair winners. But it's better having a good team of Widowhood hens than a bad one, you know.
Well, that's true. And then, as you said, you still come to Joe Warden's son,
Yeah.
and young Joseph here got a bit older, and
right.
he took a liking for the Divides and the Herman Coasters. Joseph, maybe you tell me why you took a notion on these birds.
At the time I wasn't really interested, and then when I came into the birds, I says to my daddy, we were getting in up here, it's tough. So I says to him,
Because you are actually,
we're on the side of the mountain.
you're on the side of the mountain here.
Yep, and I says to him, I think we need better birds. What birds do you want? And he told me, and that's when I researched the Divides, and then our late friend Eric McLaughlin was talking about the Herman Coasters.
Yes.
So he put us on to them. So we just went and bought.
We went from strength to strength. Most of the Herman Coasters and the Gawi Divides entered the loft. Alongside the Bushards I had, they weren't a great pigeon on the global. what we would call a southwest wind or a south wind. It had to be up a snout for them was to do anything, particularly no
Needed to
well
be a headwind.
you needed the head, and it's not that often you get a headwind. You know, nowadays, you know, seems to be all mostly west or southwest. The odd one, like.
And when did you start getting the Gabby Vanderbilt and the Herman Coasters?
I brought the Gabbies in 2010, late breds. I bought them off George Slavin, Glenview, Scotland.
And
In 2011 we bought the Herman Coasters.
and they have served you well up Ireland, so they
No,
have.
why?
Oh.
We've won the 5-bird derby, a couple of fair wins and
So
club wins, gold ring wins.
So you made the right decision, you trained them well, did you?
He did alright, you know. Well, when he was bringing them in at a particular time, I was sort of sat back, you know. You were looking at pigeons that you hadn't dealt with ever, you know, in your life, like,
Yes.
you know. So it was a total, you know, uproar for me, like, if you know what I mean.
The whole
Compared to what I
different
was
learning
used to,
curve,
you know.
yes.
And when we started getting them on, once we got them on the road, as young, it's like, Jesus, they were coming, and I was mesmerised, you know, the way they were coming. And we don't do anything special with pigeons, you know, we're just like everybody else, you know.
This hen was bred with George Slavin of Glenview LOFTS. This is obviously number 1 hen. In our first year we got 1 young one over. And she finished 5th open the day we took the first 5. So it was really, she's an open winner. And then that year past, she's bred me a hen that finished 4th open and a cock that finished 5th open. I have a couple of young ones off her already this year. This is another hen bred by Geordie. She's only ever had 2 races. She won the open in her first race over there, and she came back the second race with her leg badly broke. Can you see it there? And she bred me good young ones last year, so she's net stock. This hen here, she's a 2004, she's a Bushard hen, relating back to my daddy's old Bushard, so it was number 1 pair. She's damned the first Bird Derby winner. She's damned the first Penzance, second Penzance, Meritorious Award winner. I've tamed her son this year at Portland. And I've tamed the son off her, the only time I've ever sent the King's Cup, and he was 111th, tamed on the day. They're all big young ones, yeah. These are a pair of Bushard young birds, very inbred. They're my daddy's #1 pair, backdating in the 90s. I'm just trying to inbreed for a way to keep my line, as the parents off and grandparents are getting a bit old now.